Raina Alcott was once a gifted stunt driver, known for executing precision car chases on Hollywood sets, but off camera, she was unraveling. When her name surfaced as the mastermind behind 2 deadly vehicle attacks, the city realized too late that her final act wouldn't be performed in front of cameras, but in blood on the streets. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Hollywood Boulevard, where street performers juggled knives and tourists lined up for selfies next to celebrity impersonators. Families browsed souvenir shops while others queued for food trucks, creating the usual buzz of a Saturday afternoon. Music echoed off buildings, and the scent of grilled hot dogs filled the air. At precisely 3:42 p.m., the everyday charm shattered. A black SUV appearing out of nowhere surged onto the sidewalk with terrifying speed. There was no screech of brakes, no hesitation. The driver plowed directly into the crowd. People screamed and scattered. Some were thrown into the air, others pinned beneath twisted metal. A food cart exploded into debris as the vehicle smashed through it, barely slowing. Cell phones dropped. Blood stained the pavement. Amid the chaos, the SUV crashed into a souvenir shop, shattering its glass front and finally coming to a halt inside the store. The engine hissed, and steam billowed into the air as stunned survivors tried to process what had just happened. Witnesses described the driver's eerie calmness. Without even glancing back, they climbed out of the wrecked vehicle, slipped into a nearby alley, and vanished. No one saw a face. Just a black hoodie, dark jeans, and methodical steps that didn't match the destruction left behind. Police arrived within minutes, sealing off the boulevard and ordering nearby businesses into lockdown. Helicopters roared overhead as officers searched surrounding streets. But the attacker was gone like a ghost evaporating into thin air. Initial theories ranged from a medical emergency to terrorism, but the facts quickly ruled out coincidence. The vehicle was stolen. The plates didn't match. No identification was found. Emergency responders tended to the wounded while forensics teams combed the SUV. 4 people were declared dead on the scene. 11 others were rushed to nearby hospitals, some with critical injuries. The street, once lively and colorful, now looked like a war zone. Scattered shoes, shattered sunglasses, pools of blood. News of the incident spread rapidly, making national headlines. The public demanded answers, but there were none. No manifesto, no threats, no clear motive, just destruction without explanation. For a city built on illusion, the horror unfolding on Hollywood's most famous street was painfully real. And it was only the beginning. The aftermath of the attack left the city in shock. Hollywood Boulevard, once a hub of excitement, was cordoned off with yellow tape and armored patrol vehicles. Tour buses rerouted, businesses shut down, and makeshift memorials began to appear beside the shattered storefront. Candles flickered beside teddy bears and handwritten notes. But while the public grieved, investigators were scrambling to make sense of what had happened. The stolen SUV yielded almost nothing useful. It had been reported missing from a parking structure in Van Nuys 5 days before the attack. Whoever took it had known what they were doing. Fingerprints were wiped clean, the seats were wiped down with industrial solvent, and even the VIN was partially removed. Surveillance cameras along the boulevard were reviewed frame by frame. It was then that a crucial discovery surfaced. The same SUV had been spotted days earlier, cruising slowly along the sidewalk, pausing near food stands and security checkpoints. This wasn't a random rampage. The driver had planned every moment. Detectives widened the search radius, reviewing footage from traffic cameras and private businesses. One camera at a nearby gas station caught the SUV parked briefly behind the store 3 days before the attack. A figure emerged, hood up, gloved hands, standing still and watching the street ahead for nearly 10 minutes before driving off. Facial features were obscured, but the posture and behavior suggested something calculated, almost rehearsed. An anonymous call came in just 2 days later. The caller, using a disguised voice, directed authorities to an abandoned warehouse near Melrose Avenue. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the floor was littered with old wiring and rusted tools, but tucked beneath a sheet of plywood was a green canvas backpack. Inside were burner phones, prepaid SIM cards, a used Metro card, and a single sheet of paper. The message on it was scrawled in sharp, deliberate handwriting. "The world is watching. More to come." It was signed with 2 letters, R.A. The note shifted the entire investigation. What had first appeared to be an isolated act of terror now hinted at something broader, an ideology or a personal vendetta. The message was chilling not only because of what it said, but because of what it promised. Authorities knew one thing for sure: whoever R.A. was, they weren't finished. Fear took hold of the city as law enforcement continued to chase shadows. The chilling message found in the warehouse, "The world is watching, more to come," was now burned into the minds of investigators and the public alike. The initials R.A. became the center of every media headline and online theory. Was it a person? A group? A warning? Rumors spread fast, fueled by the lack of answers and the rising tension across Los Angeles. Amid the growing panic, digital forensics teams combed through online platforms, forums, and chat rooms looking for anything connected to the phrase or the initials. It wasn't long before something strange surfaced. A Twitter account called @Raina Strike began posting cryptic content, photos of crowded Hollywood intersections, aerial views of landmarks, and vague, ominous captions like "They'll remember the silence before the turn." The account had only existed for a few weeks, and the posts were timed to major public events in Los Angeles. The initials matched. R.A. could very well stand for Red Angel. The account was traced through a maze of VPNs, encrypted browsers, and fake email addresses. But one careless moment changed everything. A single login to the account was made without using a proxy. The IP address led to a small apartment in East Hollywood, rented by a 33-year-old sound technician named Ethan Kessler. He had no criminal record, lived alone, and had no history of political activism or mental illness. When federal agents raided his apartment, they found editing software, studio equipment, and receipts for gear rentals, but no sign of the SUV, no hoodie, no manifesto, and no weapons. Under questioning, Ethan seemed confused and genuinely frightened. He claimed he had never heard of the @Raina Strike account. Forensics later confirmed what he had suspected. His laptop had been accessed remotely several times in the past 2 weeks. Someone had hijacked his identity and used it as a cover. With no hard evidence tying him to the attacks, he was released, but placed under surveillance. The discovery was both a breakthrough and a setback. The attacker had revealed technical skill, awareness of law enforcement methods, and the ability to manipulate digital trails. Whoever was behind the Hollywood attack was watching everything: news reports, police movements, and even public reaction. And they were still in control. Just as the investigation seemed to hit a wall, the city was struck again. On a quiet Sunday morning near Griffith Park, families browsed produce stands at a popular farmer's market. Children laughed near a petting zoo while vendors arranged rows of fresh fruit. At 9:13 a.m., a white delivery van veered sharply off the road and plowed into the market without warning. Screams pierced the air as stalls collapsed, tables flew, and people scrambled to escape the crushing force. 3 more lives were lost, and over 24 were injured. This time, the van didn't stop on impact. It continued through the market until it crashed into a concrete barrier near the parking lot. The driver was gone by the time first responders arrived. Again, the vehicle was stolen, and the plates were switched. The style and execution mirrored the Hollywood Boulevard attack: purposeful, swift, and completely ruthless. The signature was undeniable. R.A. had returned, but the second attack came with a crucial mistake. A cyclist's GoPro had been recording as he pedaled near the market's entrance. In the footage, investigators spotted a brief side profile of the fleeing suspect. Facial recognition software enhanced the image and returned a name: Raina Alcott, 27 years old, a former stunt driver with a once promising career in television production. She had recently been dismissed from a private security company after erratic behavior and repeated absences. Her social media accounts had been wiped clean just months earlier. A deeper look into Raina's background uncovered troubling signs. She had posted cryptic, angry messages in niche forums, accusing the entertainment industry of manufacturing false dreams and feeding the sickness of fame. In one archived thread, she wrote, "Let the stars fall. Only then will they look up." The sentiment was poetic, but dark. Her online presence suggested a growing obsession with symbolism and public spectacle, using violence as a statement. Investigators now had a name and a face, but she had vanished. No credit card activity, no cell phone pings. Her last known location was a storage unit she rented in Santa Clarita, found empty just days earlier. What once seemed like a faceless threat now had an identity. But Raina was more than just a suspect. She had become a symbol of fear, methodical and unrelenting. And worst of all, she was still out there. The clock was ticking. With Raina Alcott now identified as the prime suspect, authorities launched a region-wide manhunt. Her image was plastered across news channels and digital billboards. Tips poured in, but none were credible. Every empty alley and abandoned building felt like a possible hideout. Then came the discovery that changed everything: a worn spiral notebook, found inside a rental locker at a self-storage facility in Lancaster, just outside Los Angeles. It contained sketches, notes, and a chilling outline labeled Finale. The final entry described a detailed plan to attack the upcoming Hollywood Christmas parade. Thousands of people were expected to attend, including families, celebrities, and press. The plan included maps, entry points, police patrol patterns, and exact timing. The level of detail was staggering. She had been planning this for months. The notebook included a date and time, December 1st, 6:45 p.m. That was less than 72 hours away. City officials had no choice but to cancel the parade. The public was notified of a credible threat, though details were withheld to avoid panic. Police presence across major city events was increased, checkpoints were established, and a dragnet extended through every freeway and side road leading in and out of Los Angeles. Then, a break. A gas station clerk in Victorville called in a tip after recognizing Raina from the news. She had paid cash for snacks and fuel, then left in a rented white van heading toward the desert. That van was later spotted, partially concealed behind a rocky outcrop near an abandoned gas station. Inside, officers found Raina unconscious, slumped across the front seat with an empty bottle of sleeping pills beside her. A handwritten note rested on the passenger seat. It read simply, "They only saw me when I screamed." Raina survived the overdose. During questioning, she remained quiet, refusing to speak. Psychologists later concluded she suffered from a complex mix of delusions, trauma, and resentment, particularly toward the entertainment industry. Her silence only deepened the mystery. In court, she was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life without parole. No accomplices were ever identified. The city slowly returned to life, but it never forgot the fear she created. Raina Alcott didn't just crash vehicles, she tore through the illusion of safety. In a place built on performances, her violence became the most unforgettable act.